How times have changed. Today we talk openly and frequently about how to grow emotional intelligence, how to create environments that nurture it and appeal to resilient mindsets. We are at the beginning of this new journey in schools, and it's gathering momentum globally. How invested are some schools in developing emotional intelligence and social and emotional literacy skills in their students? What I'm about to read features on the first page of this chapter. It's written by Tony Burford, the principal at Low Bethal Primary School in South Australia. Our cocoon room is purpose-built. It's filled with emotional and self-regulating interoception equipment and strategies. Over time, we trained all staff and students how to use it. It has been transformative. We took this approach due to increasing numbers of students who are unable to handle their big feelings. We had children overreacting, running away, tipping furniture over, and tantruming when situations did not go their way. In recent years, our enrolment grew to include 10% of students with disabilities, predominantly ASD. My days were hectic, putting out grass fires, withdrawing students from classes, contacting parents, counselling stressed students and teachers. During this time, our teachers, who are dedicated, were finding it difficult to meet the students' higher level emotional needs. I could see the potential in using mindfulness-styled strategies to support them. These students, however, needed guided practice and rehearsal with an adult where they were able to calmly embed this practice. I applied for and I won a grant. Then I recruited a new staff member with experience in working with students with challenging behaviours, as well as a background in positive mental health. Ashley has been essential in pulling this together. The grant allowed us to initially target 8 students. The training then became systemic, ongoing, and a whole team approach. Ashley worked with these targeted students in pairs 3 times a week for about 30 minutes on guided activities to help develop self-regulation. She also worked in the classrooms of the targeted students to rehearse the strategies with the whole class and to upskill the teacher. All teachers began to use the same strategies within their classrooms. We continue to collect data, and it tells us the difference in students being able to self-manage their feelings is dramatic. This now permits everyone to focus on our core business, learning. In combination with a dedicated space, each teacher has developed a peaceful corner in their classroom. As well, they actively teach students how to self-manage their emotions on an everyday basis. The next few photos are from Lake Windermere Primary School at Salisbury North in South Australia, who are using a similar approach. This chapter presents a collection of ideas, guided conversations and activities that best positions children of all ages to build emotional intelligence and resilient competencies. Most importantly, the development of these assets are best promoted when we engineer a social and emotional sweet spot where these potentials are encouraged to shine. So what am I beginning to touch on here? The importance of building a safe, emotionally connected space. We humans, we're wired for both social and emotional connections. And when this occurs, there's a deep difference to how we feel about others, our readiness to learn, our resilience, and to our mind health. When we're with people we like, who like us and encourage us, we grow. Good mental health are all about opportunities to connect, contribute, and feel capable. In this space, we commit to live and coach the skills linked to emotion, behaviour, self-awareness, satisfaction, identity, challenge, and resilience. Educators who teach in this space constantly revisit Dan Siegel's brain-hand model with their students. I love this model as it links emotion to behaviour, and it offers a tangible and powerful understanding about our precious human condition. So as Dan would explain, here is the brain. There is the profile of the brain. Here is the prefrontal cortex, and when it's connected beautifully, it works a treat. It can remember, process, it can ride over distractions, it can stop work for a while, return to the task, and finish the task by the time the task is meant to be finished. It can strategize, and it can work towards goals in the future. And underneath the prefrontal cortex, of course, is the limbic system. And a big part of the limbic system is the amygdala. And the amygdala, as you well know, is the threat centre of the brain. So in fact, tuck it back under, when a threat does go off, when there is a reaction or overreaction, Dan's taught us that we flip our lid. And suddenly our prefrontal cortex that was connected and needs to be connected is disconnected. And in this moment, there is a dump of chemicals that makes us not capable to receive information. But over time, the brain comes back online. It may be seconds, it may be minutes, it may be hours. So what we've just learned is very powerful. We know from brain imaging studies that this knowledge helps direct our attention to areas that activate the regions of the brain capable of supporting our emotions. And with practice, every child, every one of us, can improve the emotional function of our brain. We know that for a fact. Working with an emotional bias means we can seamlessly introduce James Nottingham's learning pit to students. This is a very clever analogy that explores our feelings when faced with new learning. As we take on the new challenge, we often feel uncertain, even uncomfortable. And he says it's like descending into a pit. Although the challenge is necessary for valuable learning to occur, it feels uncomfortable. And it's not an easy feeling that many will tolerate today. Instead, it's easy to give up and find something to distract, because there's a fearfulness of the uncomfortable feeling for a while and the prospect of not succeeding in that first instance. We explain to students that when the learning gets hard and they feel stuck, we want them to persist and ask for help. We reassure them that this stuck feeling is normal for deep learning. You want them to think, to take learning risks, to feel uncomfortable, to persist, fail sometimes, regroup emotions, and ultimately get there and succeed. I was in a classroom as a group of 11-year-old students returned from lunch, and expertly they filed past a series of pockets on the wall. Each pocket had the name of a student on it, and it contained 12 different emojis. Within a few moments, every class member had deftly chosen an emoji that represented how they were feeling and placed it on a Velcro tag next to their name. Lastly, with all eyes on her, their teacher did exactly the same. The class began to read silently, and the teacher made her way around the room, touching base quietly and chatting with several students about how they were feeling. Similarly, another teacher I work with has 6 emotions in large print on a pin-up board. Across the bottom of the pin-up board are small photos of each student in the class. Students move their photos to represent how they're feeling at any given time through the day. What powerful tools to give children a voice, express their feelings, and understand that their emotions matter to us. In a study in 2016, Jennifer Fain from Flinders University concluded that emojis and various options to capture emotions offer a significant social and emotional support tool to all. Strictly speaking, feelings and emotions are different. They're often described as being on different sides of the same coin. Emotions are responses to change that are hardwired in our brains. Emotions usually precede feelings. Feelings are the physical sensations we experience, and there are about 4,000 feelings words to describe these 8 emotional states. The research has made us aware that the more we encourage children in talking about emotions, naming them, the more we strengthen their emotional competence. So a basic start is to challenge your group to name 20 or 30 or 50 feelings words. Go fast and record every feeling word they say. Build up a feelings vocab as part of your classroom talk. Make posters to highlight these. Ask your group, do we experience just one feeling at a time? They'll tell you, no, we can experience different feelings at the same time. So that's right. Having to process too many feelings too fast, too quickly, leads to feeling overwhelmed, and that's what triggers a meltdown or a tantrum. Next, ask, tell me a time when you were proud, embarrassed, and happy in the same moment. Students adore this challenge. Continue by placing 3, 4, or 5 tricky emotions together and ask students to construct a narrative based on these feelings. What about this person on screen? He's just experienced 3 feelings in the very same moment. Use your imagination. Name his feelings and tell his story. Students of all ages will meet this challenge. For younger children, we play Guess the Feeling on the Face. Vary the number of faces based on your group's age and sophistication. Ask them to work in pairs or groups of 3. I'd like you to have a go at it right now. Quickly draw the 10 faces on the screen by drawing 10 circles on your page. Next, I want you to write the feeling each is expressing next to them. I'll give you a few minutes to do this together or alone. Good luck. Pause the video just for a while. Are you ready? Let's compare mine with yours. Did my feelings words match yours? There's probably not a perfect match, and this opens the way to talk about the sheer choice within our feelings vocabulary. Often there's not a wrong or right answer. It's a personal choice. All right, let's step it up and play a game I call Guess What I'm Feeling Like. As you know, our voice, in combination with our facial expressions, our body language, communicates our feelings to others. In this game, each student must secretly choose a feeling from the feelings list. Or for beginners, the feelings list might focus on just 4 feelings that you've been working on together. For older students, increase the challenge and encourage them to choose from a more extensive feeling list. When it's their turn, they may stand or sit or move about, but the most important thing is that they show that feeling by using their face and body as great clues. No words are required. This is great fun for people of all ages. Groups always ask to play several rounds. Oh, a handy tip. Make sure you go first and model how it's done. I have 2 for you, okay? So here I go. Here's my first one. Are you ready to guess? Have you got it? Boredom. Okay, here's my next one. Did you get it? I was anxious. Let's continue to connect feelings and facial expressions. In this activity, you'll need to link the face to one of the feelings words on the right of the screen. Are you ready? Here's the first. Here's your next. And another. I think this one's easy. Oh, this one may be one of the hardest feelings for people to deal with. That's a bit of a hint. Can you name it? And the last. What feeling is this face expressing? Next, I'd like you to meet Grace. Let's have some fun reading Grace's feelings from her face. Here she is in 4 different emotional states. To warm up, name each of them. Grace and Lauren first met at kindy. They've always been the best of friends. They do a lot together, at school and at home. Today they've both arrived at the park for a play together. How is Grace feeling? Choose an image to show this. Next, use 6 possible other feelings word to describe how she's feeling. Just as they start to play, Lauren says, "Hey Grace, you know the new girl at school called Sarah? Well, I asked her to come and play with us here. She's so much fun, and I want her to start playing with us sometimes." Grace doesn't know what to think. She doesn't know Sarah. Sarah isn't her friend. She wished Lauren had said something earlier. How is Grace feeling? Choose an image to show this. Use 6 possible feelings words. Soon Sarah arrives and starts to play with Lauren. Grace notices that they are having a lot of fun together. They're running, laughing, climbing and holding hands. She can see that Lauren is so happy playing with Sarah and wonders if there's any space for friendship left. How is Lauren feeling? Choose an image to show this. Come up with 6 more feelings words for her. Next, Lauren runs towards Grace. She grabs her hand and says, "Grace, come on. I want Sarah to play with you too. It's no fun playing without you. You know you're my closest friend." How is Grace feeling now? Choose an image to show this and use 6 additional feelings words. What about playing the game, What's the Feeling? I'll read a few expressions that describe feelings. Your job is to assign a feeling to each of these expressions. Are you ready? Okay, I'm going to go quickly, so stick with me. I'm on cloud 9. What's the feeling? He's spaced out. I'm on tenterhooks. I'm bushed. I'm head over heels. Oh, why the long face? That's a dirty look. Ooh, if looks could kill. I feel like I'm just walking on air. Keep your chin up. I'm on top of the world. Next, print this list of feelings words onto card. Get students to work in small groups and cut out each feelings word from their set. Ask them to arrange the cards in a ladder formation, just like the one on screen. Place the most pleasant feeling at the top of the ladder. It may be proud, excited, relieved, happy. And the trickiest feeling to deal with at the bottom of the ladder, perhaps shame, loneliness, disappointment. Organise the rest so they progress from the more enjoyable, easier to navigate feelings through to the neutral feelings and then on to the most challenging feelings. To do this, you can lay them on the floor or on a desk and then fasten them to a large poster. Use group consensus to make decisions. It will spark for some rich conversations. Finally, ask each group to draw a line through the middle of the ladder where the easier, more enjoyable feelings give way to the trickier type feelings. We try not to use the expression good and bad feelings because all feelings have a legitimate place in life. Oh, interestingly, boredom is usually identified as the first of the trickier feelings to deal with. We must talk to our kids about their boredom. Boredom is a normal human emotion and it has a rightful place. Pose these statements to your students and elicit their responses. There is nothing good about being bored. Boredom is a valuable teacher because. Yes, boredom is a valuable teacher as it helps us to learn to be by ourselves, to plan, to daydream, to imagine, to ignite seeds of creativity, to mooch and muse about things and to reconstruct past experiences and to build better futures. Big feelings feel like everything is at stake and that they'll last forever. But the truth is that all feelings, they come and they go. An ideal way to illustrate this is to use a bubble blowing kit with students. What a perfect metaphor to show that feelings are as transient as bubbles. Get a bubble making kit for each student and together take turns in blowing a bubble and assign a feeling to that bubble. And if you're thinking that this is an activity just for littlies, you couldn't be more wrong. Every year, too many adolescents impulsively harm themselves or take their lives because they have not learnt to deal with the trickiest feelings around disappointment, rejection, shame, and loss. They have not absorbed one vital fact. That is, feelings come and go. Make this activity an annual event for them. Teach your students, every one of them, at every age, to always wait 24 hours before acting on any feeling that's tricky, tragic, or disastrous. By deliberately pre-planning to not act on a problem for 24 hours, we buy time for our brains to reset and reconsider. We also build in time to talk to one or two trusted people to compare their own thinking with ours. Often within 24 hours, we've moved past the initial high point and we've calmed enough to make a much wiser decision. This practice can be literally life-saving. We share with young people that how academic smart you are only reflects one sort of intelligence. There are other intelligences, and one of the most important types is emotional intelligence, EQ. It's the way a person understands the emotions of others as well as how they resiliently deal with their own emotions. Some people have naturally good EQ skills, and if you don't yet, you can improve them. Multiple intelligences self-assessment quizzes, they're not perfect or definitive, but are useful to better understand our unique ways of learning and knowing. Here's an activity that will give your students an insight to their people smart skills and show others how to do this. The research illustrates that when young people participate in group conversations and analyse the behaviour and emotions of others, they develop their social and emotional mind reading abilities. In other words, they develop their people reading skills. Here's a very short story. It's late on a Saturday afternoon, and 13-year-old Jade is curled up on the couch. She's just started to watch a great movie loaned to her by a friend. Dad comes in and says he's had some brilliant and unexpected news. It's so good that he wants to take everyone out to a favourite restaurant for dinner. Jade starts complaining that it's a stupid idea to go out because she wants to watch this movie, and that's what she'd planned. She carries on and on. She refuses to go. Her mum, dad and younger brother quickly give in to her. Instead, Dad and her brother make spaghetti bolognese while she keeps watching her movie alone. When dinner is ready, Jade pauses the movie, grabs her dinner, jumps back onto the couch and continues to watch it. The rest of the family have dinner together at the table. Okay, are you ready? Let's test your empathic skills by getting you to answer these questions. As soon as I finish each question, see if you can get an answer in your head. How would you describe Jade's reaction to Dad? How was Jade feeling? Name 4 of her feelings. Did she show empathy towards Dad? Give 3 possible reasons that may explain her behaviour. Name 2 ways Jade could have handled this better. While Jade insisted she watch the movie, what did her dad and brother do? Who missed out on what? Her mum and dad did not fight her. What does this suggest to you? Come up with 3 reasons why mum and dad have learnt not to fight Jade. This time, I want you to become a feelings detective, but we'll approach the task differently. If you hear a feeling that you think Jade felt in the story, stand up and sit down. If she didn't feel that feeling, in your opinion, just stay seated. Okay, I'm going to try and trick you. Jade felt happy, jealous, kind, nervous, sad, sulky, surprised, worried, angry, brave, disappointed, excited. let's change it up. This time, let's be a feelings detective and shift our perspectives. Let's look at things from Dad's point of view. If you hear a feeling that you think Dad felt in the story, stand up and sit down. If the feeling wasn't Dad's, stay seated. Happy, kind, flattered, proud, sad, scared, surprised, upset, angry, fed up, disappointed, excited. Each of us experiences physical sensations in our bodies that are connected to our feelings. For example, something that makes us upset is likely to bring on the sensation of tearing up. Similarly, it's common to feel a lump in the throat or a racing heartbeat when facing a fearful circumstance. These physical warning signals alert us to the problems at hand. The message says it's time to think. It's time to be careful about what we do next. Learning to understand these signals prevents taught emotions becoming from being stretched too far and causing us to do things we may regret in the heat of the moment. All right, let's play. I'll call out a feeling. Your job is to think of a typical early warning sign that likely runs next to this feeling. If you were here with me, I'd get you to call it out. You can do it in your head. Are you ready? I feel upset. What might be an early warning sign? I feel bored. What are my early warning signs? I feel stressed. What are classic early warning signs? I'm feeling so nervous. What are those warning signs for nervousness? Oh, I'm feeling really scared now. What are those warning signs? And my last one, I feel really embarrassed. What are my warning signs? Invite students to draw their early warning signals. The version on screen is available from the website. Assign a different feeling to each student and ask them to creatively draw their early warning signals for it. Okay, let's move into resilience building. Here are 5 statements about resilience. Some are facts and others are myths. Stand up if you believe the statement is a fact. Stay seated if you believe it's a myth. Are you set? Okay. Number 1, resilience is all about thinking positively. It's a myth. Thinking positively is important, but resilience also depends on optimism, humour, good relationships, cognitive flexibility, willingness to seek help, and hope. Number 2, you are born with it. This is a myth. Resilience is developed through learning. It's not a gene that people are born with. Number 3, resilience is like following a recipe. If you follow it, you'll be resilient. It's a myth too. Resilience isn't a single skill or a recipe. Number 4, resilience is all about preparing for what might happen. That's a myth too, because it's impossible to prepare for every event that may occur. Resilient attitudes grow over time and are reflected in the way we respond to unforeseen situations with increasing confidence. Number 5, what doesn't kill you will make you stronger. Oh, that's just rubbish. People love to hear stories about others who've overcome hardship and thrive because of the tough experience. But in reality, too much hardship too early, too quickly, can disable people, and that's a fact. It's true that a few people feel a sense of personal growth following a terrible event, but this growth happens because of the way in which this person chose to respond. There are some fascinating qualities about resilience worth mentioning. Firstly, none of us are born with it, ready, set to go. It's a slowly learned capacity that's built through experiencing and working with the ups and downs of life. And resilience is not an all-encompassing quality either. Think about yourself. There are some parts of your life where you are less self-assured and our resilience wanes. Yes, resiliency is a fickle quality even for us supposedly hearty and healthy adults. Having a sense of realism alerts us to the fact that there are things we can and can't control in our lives. Researchers have also found out that those who develop a humorous insight into themselves and their performances always handle stressful situations so much better. So what if I stuff up doing this video today? I'm sure I have in a few places, but I will remember the good bits and I will remember the bits I'm proud of. I'll smile about the things I didn't do so well and I'll work on them for next time. How resilient are you? Here are a few questions for you and your students to discuss. When you ask these questions of your students, be brave, step up, share your own answers. Okay, for some of the questions you can use a rating out of 5 and then answer. 5 out of 5, very resilient. 3, mostly. 1 out of 5, not resilient yet. Okay, first question. Are you an optimist or a pessimist? Do you think optimists are more resilient? When or where are you most resilient? When or where are you least resilient? How do you rate your mother's or father's, sisters or brothers' resilience next to yours? Are you more resilient now than you were when you were younger? Ooh. If so, what does this tell you about resilience? Do you choose friends who encourage your resilience and well-being? Why is this important? You may wish to turn your attention to online resiliency surveys. These are suitable for kids aged from about 8 years upwards and provide such a good springboard for rich discussion. You can see 5 on screen and many more are available. Be sure you complete them first. By doing so, you know how they work and how to help young people get the best from them. Always share your own results in the follow-up discussion. Never overlook YouTube as a captivating learning point for anything. There's a huge collection of videos on resiliency and you can specifically choose clips that will steer discussions in the directions you want them to go. What is resiliency? How does resiliency and growth mindset work together? Why do we need it? How can it help? How can we get more of it? Children's literature has long been a source to teach all kinds of concepts to children. So it's no surprise that the research stresses the value of using children's literature to build emotional awareness and resilience. Stories assist us to showcase the challenges that people face and ways to cope or even overcome them. You can ask students these questions after finishing a story. What was the problem? Was it solved? Was it solved well? Would have you solved it in that way? Are there other ways the problem could have been solved? Have you ever been in a situation like this? Can you call yourself resilient if you ask for support or help? Is there something in the story that leaves a special message for you? There are so many movies where a well-developed character encounters a hurdle, a big change, an injustice, a roadblock, or a dilemma in their life. Movies offer an appealing way to show children how to bounce back from adversity. By watching and sharing thoughts, children can mentally rehearse the foundations to grow their own brand of resilience. As well, support students to make their own movies. Role-playing and filmmaking expands emotional literacy too, and the research tells us so. These are engaging mediums allowing rehearsal, observation, and the evaluation of the social and emotional skills in action. And when you think about it, there are few other ways where young people can watch themselves back and objectively evaluate their own performance. Don't forget Wile E. Coyote. What about his creativity and resilience as he tries to capture the Roadrunner? Coyote perfected the concept of hope. With hope, success lies just around the next corner. As for Roadrunner, she's tuned in, sensitive to her environment, fast and elusive. She's a force within herself. And never overlook real-life examples of those who capture the spirit of resilience, whether they be guest speakers or on a screen. Kurt Fearnley, known as Australia's elite wheelchair racer, is one of my resilience heroes. Although Kurt stands at 1.4 metres tall, weighs in at 50 kilos and lives with an obvious disability, he deliberately challenges himself. He's participated in multiple marathons with wins and losses. He's a Paralympian, world champion. He won Commonwealth Athlete of the Year with a disability, and he's crawled the entire length of the Kokoda Trail. Whet your students' creativity by showing them a few images you've photographed or taken from Google Images that represent your take on resilience. Set them a challenge to take their own photos or collect their own images that showcase resilience. It's an enjoyable task that can deliver big results. Put aside time where students can share the images they've collected and discuss them. The image on screen was collected by a student of mine. He snapped this at his mother's work. He says, "It's the most resilient plant in the world because every fortnight the cleaners at his mum's work cut it off at floor level, and 2 weeks later it's back, growing and looking as good as ever." Or support students to look at a range of sayings that highlight resilience and share their favourites. Ask why particular sayings resonate with them and allow others to soak up their answers. Get them to make their own resilience posters or a collage. Inspire a group discussion about one of the quotes on screen. Greek mythology sees the phoenix as a mythical bird with the ability to bounce back and rise from the ashes. This nicely symbolises resilience. Display a range of various phoenix images and encourage students to choose one they like. Google Images will provide you with all of the images you need. Next, ask them to add resilient statements and sayings that they can write onto the sweeping tail of the phoenix. Statements such as, "I can handle this," just one thing at a time. "This doesn't have to get me down. I'm smart enough to get through this." More resilient statements can be added throughout the year every time a student comes up with a new positive coping strategy. It's a great way to keep focus and a visual record of successes. We can improve the resilience of some students by bringing a resilient close to their school day. While this is a simple idea and a healthy habit, many will never use it unless you actively teach it. Before they leave school, ask them to hunt down the good stuff from the day and tell what it was. Record one of their positive comments for them, and next ask them to share anything they felt was unkind, unfair or awful. And if something is raised, record it for them. Finally, ask them to rate their school day. As you know, we work with more than our share of young people who feel gloomy, sad or swamped by aspects of school. Asking them to do this before leaving school, it places a full stop on the school day so that what's ever happened at school can stay at school. If something tricky is raised during this 60-second catch-up, reassure them it'll be followed up tomorrow. But they are to leave it here at school with you. Their job is to enjoy the rest of the day. This is also an ideal way to collect data on the happiness of students and the sorts of things that impact on them both positively and negatively. The research tells us that people differ in the extent in which they experience and show empathy. The following empathy quizzes on screen will help you and your students find a little more about your empathy styles. There are no right or wrong answers. There's no pass or fail. They're easy to do and they provide valuable feedback and set the scene for great discussions. Take care. Never give a student a web address and get them to do a quiz without your direct supervision, guidance and input. The best tip is for you to complete anything you want your students to do first. Okay, let's turn our attention to developing emotional self-regulation in young and not so young people. Self-regulation is the ability to manage one's feelings effectively, particularly when under duress. It's a foundation skill to exercise resiliency. We also know difficulties with self-regulation are strongly related to emotional immaturity, trauma-based histories, and disability. We must never give the impression that these are skills that we teach one day and children will have them locked and loaded ready to use the next day. From a developmental point of view, self-regulation takes much, much longer to develop than we like to think. We have learned about the magic of slow, deep breathing. It relaxes our brain just enough so that prefrontal cortex can stay online and help us make rational decisions. The problem is that it's too hard to experiment with new techniques when we're in the middle of being distraught. So the best way around this is to practice when we're in a more relaxed state of mind every day. The more we practice, the more we adapt our brains to supporting us. The message here is for educators and parents to embed these practices into the daily lives of the young. Emotional self-regulation techniques, often badged as mindfulness, are tools that help us best manage frazzled feelings. Dan Siegel, and Tina Payne-Bryson, in their book The Whole Brain Child, introduced the idea that brains are a bit like a house with an upstairs and a downstairs. Enthuse older students to make up stories about the characters who live upstairs and those who live downstairs. Enjoy assigning nifty names to them. Those who live upstairs are thinkers and positive problem solvers. They may be positive Precia, thoughtful Tom, steady Susie. They tend to plan, keep their emotions steady, as well as trying to be flexible and empathic. To do this, they more naturally process their thoughts and feelings in their prefrontal cortex, which governs that deeper reasoning, insight and caution. Even when under pressure, even when under stress, their prefrontal cortex stays online. Those who live downstairs, however, feel their strong emotions kick in fast. There's fast Frankie, there's screaming Scully, and there's runaway Ralph. They sense change, challenge, and differences as a threat. Their personal alarm screams at them, and they get ready to fight, run, or hide. And sometimes they'll flip their lid because everything feels frightening. Motivate students to draw their own pictures of their upstairs and downstairs brains. Get them to draw a picture of themselves flipping their lid, and use captions to show what triggers the reaction and what happens when their amygdala becomes the boss of them. This is a magical way to teach how things are processed neurologically. For younger children, Affirmation Weaver is a book by Laurie Light. It's designed for children aged 6 to 10 years to develop optimistic patterns of thinking. It's beaut to have in your toolkit. Originally developed for young people on the autism spectrum is the incredible 5-point scale. It's restorative for everyone. It helps us to identify and manage our feelings. The approach coaches kids of all ages to identify how they feel, the intensity of the feeling, communicate it, and choose a possible solution. It helps to put abstract information into a visible, measurable format that can become part of their cognition. Similarly, the zones of regulation coaches young people to pay attention to how they're feeling and regulate their actions accordingly. Over time, this leads to increased emotional control and better problem-solving abilities. This cognitive behaviour approach permits students to recognise which zone they're in, and these are represented by different colours. Students learn how to move to a preferred zone, and a toolbox of calming techniques, cognitive strategies, and sensory supports are incorporated in the program too. We always explain to kids that big emotions are not logical. Consequently, one of the worst things that we can do is to argue or talk a child up or down or in or out of anger or anxiety when their downstairs brain is in charge of them. And yet instinctively, many of us have done this. Anyone who is in this state is experiencing an emotional hijacking. In other words, it's almost impossible for this child to process our well-intentioned advice. Just being with them is enough. One or two comforting words such as, "Sometimes it's just really hard." That's enough. You do not need to know all of the answers. Just be there and connect. It's counterintuitive, but do not attempt to problem solve at this point. This can only happen once the prefrontal cortex is back online with their upstairs brain. Work with your student or group to choose just one or two of these mindfulness ideas. When there are too many to choose from, nothing gets chosen. It's often useful to have a special place to retreat to, where they can get away from triggers. This might be a tent in the classroom, a specialised sensory room, or being in a soothing space with someone of their choice. And it's not about isolating a young person, but respectfully giving them structure, space, time, and dignity. My experience in working with children and teens who suffer from anxiety and anger and control issues is that most feel terrible after the event. Generally, they are their own worst critics. The key is finding acceptable ways to let this raw, unbridled emotion pass without placing themselves, others, or property at risk. Once they've calmed and feel steadier, you might say, "How's your heart feeling now?" This is such a deeply connecting question. It helps them tune back in to their innate goodness that was stolen for a while. This statement also lets them know that you understand and you care. And then as they leave, you say goodbye, and you also say, "Take care of your good heart." The research tells us we all do best when we have some autonomy over our situation. And a break card or similar is a simple and effective way to do this. To begin to finish up, here are a few controlled breathing activities I use with children and adolescents, particularly the ones who say, "I hate doing controlled breathing. Controlled breathing doesn't work for me." I know you understand where I'm coming from. So whether it's blowing a sheet of A4 paper to each other across a desk, or blowing plastic cups or balls, it is controlled breathing, and it will deliver the very same magic. Here's a new cute one I recently came across, and it's for every age. These little caterpillars are fun to build and fun to race, and the only way to race them is through controlled breathing. And what about the controlled breathing required to make these bubbles? Check out the YouTube clip. Nature journaling is about noticing what's happening in nature, drawing it, and spending time with it. The practice plays beautifully into the hands of mindfulness because it's an activity that slows our mind down by focusing our attention on the appreciation of nature. For total inspiration, Google images for nature journaling. On screen are 4 popular controlled breathing activities used by many who work with children and adolescents. You'll find each of them on YouTube with a simple explanation. Enjoy the success they can bring. Progressive muscle relaxation is a method that reduces muscle tension. Many of my clients like doing it and find it useful. The technique encourages you to systematically tense up particular muscles and then relax them. The result of doing this is that it's an engaging exercise and you're in the moment and you do feel less tense afterwards. Don't forget Angry Octopus. It's an appealing story for younger children about managing anger by using progressive muscle relaxation and deep breathing. This one is also written by Laurie Light. Then there's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 coping technique for anger, anxiety, and anything in between. To finish up, I have just 5 points to make. First, our children are dependent on our insight, knowledge, and ability to wisely guide them towards healthier patterns of thinking. No one strategy will work for every person in every situation. And this, of course, places an emphasis on getting to know a young person. and a desire to set up environments, conversations, activities, exercises, and motivations to assist their transformation. Second, give children opportunities to experience calculated risks and leadership. As wise guides, let's support them to step outside their comfort zone to encourage their growth. It's ideal for them to feel challenged and experience all the big and small feelings. Third, lead young people to gain a realistic perspective about their lives. An ideal way to do this is to get them to contribute to others, to charities, aged care homes, and organisations that serve people who have tricky lives. Teach that friendships are the best protection against sadness, despair, and depression, because a worry shared with a friend is a worry halved. Fourth, actively coach your students to develop self-regulatory skills. Teach them Dan Siegel's brain-hand model so they have a real understanding of the link between brains, emotion, and behaviour. And finally, encourage every young person who comes your way to revel in their human capacities, showing kindness to others and especially being kind to themselves.